Welcome to the Super Gringo Nails, where we discuss the news stories that the other nihilist hence are talking about. Now let's go to our newsroom.
Cuomo defends directing nursing homes to admit COVID-positive patients. Former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo appeared before Congress on September 10th to defend his decision-making in the early months of the COVID-19 pandemic when he governed the state. The governor's March 2020 directive requiring nursing homes to accept COVID-19 positive patients has been widely criticized as a direct contributor to the state's high number of pandemic fatalities. Cuomo, however, told members of the House Oversight and Accountability Committee's Select Subcommittee on the coronavirus pandemic on Monday the directive was not to blame for those deaths. All credible studies now say that COVID came into nursing homes through community spread and infected staff, not hospital admissions or readmissions, he said. Cuomo also pointed to early guidance from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention as the foundation of his policy allowing COVID-19 patients to return to nursing homes. Specifically, the March 9, 2020, recommendations issued by CMS stated that a nursing home can admit such residents as long as the facility can follow CDC guidance for transmission-based precautions. Facilities that could not follow those guidelines were advised against admitting COVID-positive residents, Representative Brad Wenstrup, the subcommittee's chairman, pointed out. Did the federal government require that the state of New York mandate that its nursing homes admit or readmit residents? The answer is no, Wenstrup said. The congressman also noted that the Trump administration's guidance did not require states to prohibit nursing homes from testing new or readmitted residents for COVID-19, as Cuomo required in New York. Bipartisan criticism. Cuomo's actions were defended by Representative Jamie Raskin, the top Democrat on the Oversight Committee, who agreed with the former governor that President Donald Trump's policies were primarily to blame for any excess pandemic deaths. I confess, Mr. Chairman, that I'm appalled by the majority's decision to evade and bypass the central events of the epidemic for totally political reasons, Raskin said, calling Trump's response to the pandemic a failure. The Epoch Times has contacted the Trump campaign for comment. Others were more critical. Representative Raul Ruiz, the subcommittee's ranking Democrat, asked the former governor whether it was his decision to change his state's reporting of nursing home fatality data in May 2020 to exclude out-of-facility deaths, such as the deaths of residents who were transferred to hospitals. Cuomo replied that it was not his decision and that he didn't know whose it was. Noting that the change artificially lowered New York's reported number of nursing home fatalities, Ruiz asked whether that was the reason for the adjustment. Cuomo said the change arose from increased inquiries as the Republicans started this nursing home scandal theory. He said the requests for more subcategories of data resulted in less certainty in the reporting because you were calling up a nursing home and basically asking them to do a forensic audit in the middle of a pandemic. I was not going to put out a number unless I knew it was true, Cuomo said. Representative Elise Stefanik criticized Cuomo for securing a $5 million book deal in the midst of the pandemic, saying he would never hold elected office again. The former governor resigned from his post in August 2021 amid allegations of sexual harassment.
Election officials warn problems with U.S. mail could cause 2024 voting disruptions. A coalition representing state and local election officials across the United States warned that problems with the nation's mail system could disrupt voting in some areas, with just weeks to go before the 2024 presidential election. In a Wednesday letter sent to the U.S. Postal Service's postmaster, Louis DeJoy, the National Association of State Election Directors and the National Association of Secretaries of State said they have ongoing concerns about USPS's ability to perform ahead of the November 5th contest. Over the past year, they warned, mailed ballots that were postmarked on time were received by local election offices days after the deadline to be counted. They also noted that properly addressed election mail was being returned to them as undeliverable, a problem that could automatically send voters to inactive status through no fault of their own, potentially creating chaos when those voters show up to cast a ballot. In that time period, election officials across the country have raised serious questions about processing facility operations, lost or delayed election mail, and frontline training deficiencies impacting USPS's ability to deliver election mail in a timely and accurate manner, the letter stated. Further, officials have told the two associations that mail sent to voters is being deemed undeliverable at higher than normal rates, sometimes in instances where a voter is known not to have moved. This has affected a range of election mail, including informational mailers about critical election information and voter address confirmation cards, as well as ballots, the letter said. Despite the alleged issues, the group said that repeated attempts to contact the USPS to resolve them did not result in changes, adding that the mail delivery problems result from a pervasive lack of understanding and enforcement of USPS policies among its employees. We implore you to take immediate and tangible corrective action to address the ongoing performance issues with USPS election mail service, they said. Failure to do so will risk limiting voter participation and trust in the election process. Responding to their letter, the USPS said that it is equipped to deal with mail-in ballots. But the Postal Service said that voters who wish to submit ballots through the mail should not procrastinate. We are ready to deliver. We were successful in 2020 delivering a historic volume of mail-in ballots. Also in 2022 and will do so again in November 2024, Adrian Marshall, Director of Election Mail and Government Services, said in a statement. In December, the Postal Service said in a news release that it has consistently delivered mail and packages to 98% of the U.S. population in fewer than 3 days during peak volume periods. DeJoy responded to previous criticism of his handling of the USPS in a Washington Post opinion article published in July, also noting that 98% of Americans received their mail and packages within 3 days. However, he noted that the service has suffered in recent times due to what he called degraded operating conditions. Although we have slipped recently because of difficulties in overcoming our degraded operating conditions while opening new facilities and remodeling and repositioning existing ones, we will soon be back to a performance level that can make the nation proud, he said. The National Association of State Election Directors, described as an organization of state election directors, and the National Association of Secretaries of State, a coalition of all U.S. Secretaries of State, have not responded to an Epoch Times request for comment. The Epoch Times contacted USPS for additional comment on Wednesday but received no response by publication time. During the 2020 election, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, election officials in multiple states expanded vote-by-mail efforts. After the conclusion of that election, former President Donald Trump said that mail-in ballots can lead to election fraud. However, in 2024, he has urged GOP voters to vote by mail, early in person, or on Election Day itself. The Associated Press contributed to this report. Georgia judge dismisses 2 counts in Trump's criminal case. Fulton County Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee has dismissed 2 counts in the criminal indictment former President Donald Trump faces in Georgia. According to McAfee, prosecutors lacked the authority to bring the charges, which related to the alleged filing of false documents in federal court. The September 12th decision meant that 5 of the original 13 criminal counts in Fulton County Prosecutor Fani Willis's indictment have been removed. McAfee removed 3 others related to Trump in March. President Trump and his legal team in Georgia have prevailed once again, Trump attorney Steve Sido said in a statement to the Epoch Times. The case has been on hold for months and is headed toward an appeals court in December with consideration of whether Willis should be disqualified. Willis brought a 41-count indictment in 2023 against Trump and 18 of his allies. Currently, 14 co-defendants remain. Motion to dismiss. McAfee's decision came in response to the defense's motion to dismiss the indictment based on the Supremacy Clause of the U.S. Constitution. After considering the briefing and argument of counsel, the court finds the indictment is not barred entirely, he said in his September 12th ruling. He added that an 1890 decision by the Supreme Court meant that the federal government preempted the state's ability to prosecute perjury and false filings in a federal district court. The 1890 decision, known as in re Loney, involved a lower court discharging a man who was arrested by authorities in Virginia. He was charged with willful perjury in a case involving the contested election of a Congress member. McAfee wrote on September 12, "At its core, Loney concerns the ability of a federal tribunal to police its own proceedings. That ruling led him to quash 2 counts, conspiracy to commit filing false documents and conspiracy to commit forgery in the first degree, against Trump, as well as another for criminal attempt to commit filing false documents." Part of McAfee's decision rejected the idea that the Electoral Count Act, which outlines the process for counting the vote, preempted state laws. Preemption generally refers to the concept that the federal government has authority over states in a particular area of law. Moreover, he said, the indictment fell within the scope of state authority under the appointment powers granted in Article 2, Section 1 of the U.S. Constitution, and the police powers reserved by the states in the 10th Amendment. Trump's legal battles. McAfee's decision is among several other recent developments in Trump's ongoing criminal cases in Washington, Georgia, New York, and Florida. An election-related case in Washington has resumed with D.C. Judge Tanya Chutkan setting a timetable for proceeding after the Supreme Court's July decision on presidential immunity. Special counsel Jack Smith filed a superseding indictment that retained the initial 4 counts in that case but excluded certain allegations for the stated purpose of respecting the Supreme Court's decision. It's unclear how much of that indictment will remain as both sides are set to litigate the specifics of how the immunity decision applies to that case. The issue is expected to come up in the Georgia case as well. New York Supreme Court Justice Juan Merchan has said he will make a ruling on Trump's immunity claims in the New York case in November. Each have the possibility of resulting in prison sentences for the former president. Attorneys indicated to the Epoch Times that the Supremacy Clause would preclude Trump from serving time as a result of those cases. Like Willis, Smith has encountered questions about whether his involvement with his prosecution was legally sound. Florida Judge Aileen Cannon held that his appointment was unconstitutional, a ruling which Smith has appealed to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit. Reuters contributed to this report.
Paper targets won't fight back. Are you prepared for the real thing? You bought a gun, or maybe it was issued to you. You've hit the range and put holes in paper targets. But now what? Those paper targets aren't coming for you in a dark alley. They won't break into your home at 3 a.m. That's where tactical training with Firearms comes in. This book takes you beyond the basics, beyond paper targets. It teaches you how to defend yourself in real-world situations, from safety and negotiation to stealth and speed. You'll learn Cooper's color code system of mental awareness and how to handle multiple attackers, how to shoot in low-light conditions and perform force-on-force simulation training safely. Remember, a firearm is just a tool. In a crisis, you'll fall back on the lowest level of training you've received. Make sure that level is high. This book is just $15. Compare that to the baseline funeral cost of $2,000. Which would you rather pay for? Upgrade your training, upgrade your survivability. Get the book. Stay alive.
Melania Trump calls for answers over Trump assassination attempt. Former First Lady Melania Trump is questioning accounts of the attempted assassination of her husband, former President Donald Trump, saying on September 10th that there is definitely more to this story. In a video posted on her X account, she said that the shooting on July 13th in Butler, Pennsylvania, was horrible and distressing for her. The former president was wounded in his right ear by a bullet allegedly fired by Thomas Matthew Crooks, who was shot and killed by a Secret Service sniper. Now, the silence around it feels heavy. I can't help but wonder, why didn't law enforcement officials arrest the shooter before the speech? There is definitely more to this story, and we need to uncover the truth, Melania Trump said in the video, posted on social media hours before her husband's first debate with Democratic presidential nominee and Vice President Kamala Harris. The video ended by urging people to purchase her forthcoming memoir, Melania. It's not clear whether her book will delve into the assassination attempt, which also left a rallygoer dead and 2 people wounded. Questions emerged in the immediate aftermath of the shooting about whether the Secret Service or local law enforcement had done enough to prevent Crooks from climbing onto the roof from which he allegedly fired the gun, and which was later confirmed to have had no agents stationed there. Hours after the shooting, Melania Trump issued a lengthy statement thanking law enforcement and also people praying for the Trump family. "When I watched that violent bullet strike my husband, Donald, I realized my life and Barron's life were on the brink of devastating change," she said in mid-July, referring to their son, Barron Trump. "I am grateful to the brave Secret Service agents and law enforcement officials who risked their own lives to protect my husband." The former First Lady also called on Americans to rise above the hate. "America, the fabric of our gentle nation is tattered, but our courage and common sense must ascend and bring us back together as one," she said at the time. House lawmakers set up a task force to investigate any possible security failures around the shooting. During a contentious hearing, a bipartisan group of lawmakers questioned Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle on details about the incident. She resigned a day later, and the agency named a new acting director. The Department of Homeland Security also initiated a review of the Secret Service agents' shooting of crooks and an investigation into how security was handled for the rally. Over the past month or so, few details have been released by the FBI or local law enforcement about Crooks or his motive, and the Secret Service has not released any new information about possible security lapses. The FBI has not said whether Crooks was motivated by any particular political animus, and the Crooks family hasn't released a statement about the incident. Melania is scheduled for release by Skyhorse Publishing on October 8th. According to a synopsis, Melania Trump will reflect on her childhood in Slovenia, as well as how she met Donald Trump. The former First Lady has been mostly absent from her husband's campaign trial. She made an appearance at the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee but didn't speak. In several interviews after Trump left office, she has affirmed that she backs the former president's 2024 campaign. On Monday, she released a campaign-style video with a scrolling book excerpt that references the 2020 election and free speech in the United States. "The 2020 election results changed our lives forever. It impacted our quality of life, cost of food, gasoline, safety, and even the geopolitical landscape," Melania Trump says off-camera as the words appear on the screen. "America is more divided today than ever before. It has become increasingly apparent that there are significant challenges to free speech as demonstrated by the efforts to silence my husband." The Epoch Times contacted the Secret Service for comment but didn't receive a reply by publication time.
New poll shows Harris's August momentum fading. Vice President Kamala Harris enjoyed a boost in voter enthusiasm, extensive media coverage, and increased campaign funds in August, just after President Joe Biden withdrew from the 2024 race and endorsed her for the 2024 Democratic presidential nomination. A recent survey, however, shows that this positive momentum may be fading, as nearly 30% of voters still feel they don't know enough about Harris and almost half of voters consider her views as too liberal or progressive. A new poll conducted by the New York Times and Siena College found that former President Donald Trump is narrowly leading Harris 48% to 47% among likely voters, which is well within the poll's margin of error. The results are consistent with a poll conducted by the same group in late July, shortly after Biden ended his re-election bid. With 60 days until Election Day, the survey found that while Trump is maintaining support for his presidential bid, voters remain uncertain about where Harris stands on key policy issues. According to the survey, 28% of voters wanted to learn more about Harris, compared with only 9% who said the same for Trump. Voters think Trump is closer to the center of the political spectrum, which provides an advantage for the former president. A near majority of voters said Trump is not too far to the left or right on policy issues, while around one-third said he's too conservative. In contrast, nearly half of voters said Harris is too liberal or progressive and 41% believed she's not too far either way. Harris and Trump will face off for the first time on September 10th, in a debate that could significantly shape the presidential race. Both candidates are expected to use the debate to appeal to undecided voters and energize their supporters to turn out in November. Ahead of the debate, the Harris campaign introduced a webpage titled A New Way Forward over the weekend, detailing her policy positions on key issues, such as the economy, gun violence, and illegal border crossings. In her first interview as the Democratic nominee with CNN on August 29, Harris faced questions about her shifting positions on fracking and border security. Her evolving stance on key issues will likely face scrutiny during the September 10 debate. Harris and Democrats enjoy an advantage in terms of voter enthusiasm, with 91% of Democrats expressing enthusiasm compared with 85% of Republicans, according to the survey. In addition, voters trust Harris more when it comes to abortion and democracy issues. Meanwhile, Trump has an advantage on issues such as the economy and immigration. Trump holds a 13 percentage point advantage on the economy, while Harris holds a 15 percentage point advantage on abortion. During the debate, the former president will likely face questions about his stance on abortion, an issue that has, for decades, been one of the most divisive in American politics. The NYT survey was conducted nationwide among 1,695 registered voters from September 3 to 6. According to the poll, voters remain pessimistic about the direction of the country. Only 30% of likely voters believe the country was on the right track. In terms of representing change, 53% of the likely voters see Trump as the candidate who will bring about change, while only 25% view Harris as representing change. Harris has been preparing for the high-stakes debate at a hotel in Pittsburgh since September 5. She has also been using her downtime to get out and meet with supporters. On September 7, the vice president visited Penzeys Spices, a small business in Pittsburgh's Strip District, where she met with workers and local customers. When asked whether she was ready to face Trump, Harris told reporters, "Yes, I am." ABC will host the debate in Philadelphia at the National Constitution Center. The two candidates will be standing throughout the event, which will last 90 minutes with 2 commercial breaks, according to the network. The debate will begin at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time.
New report says technology built into Chinese-made cargo cranes could be a Trojan horse for U.S. seaports. A congressional investigation found that technology embedded in Chinese cargo cranes used in the United States could serve as a Trojan horse, giving Beijing the ability to spy on port traffic and even halt commerce at U.S. seaports. The 52-page report, released on September 12, was a joint venture between the Republican-controlled House Homeland Security Committee and the Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party. It follows questions from congressional and Senate leaders in the spring surrounding the use of communication equipment discovered on Chinese-manufactured cranes. The report detailed the rising threat to the U.S. maritime supply chain and national security posed by Chinese-made equipment that could be accessed by Beijing's military. The CCP mandates that Chinese companies cooperate with state intelligence agencies. A joint statement about the report from Representatives John Molinar, Mark Green, and Carlos Jimenez said the United States was risking its economic security for short-term financial gain by purchasing Chinese equipment for U.S. infrastructure. "We have given the CCP the ability to track the movement of goods through our ports or even halt port activity at the drop of a hat," they stated. Amid China's aggression in the Indo-Pacific, our greatest geopolitical adversary could wield this power to influence global military and commercial activity in the event of escalation. The U.S. maritime sector is dangerously reliant on equipment and technology that has been manufactured and assembled in China, such as ship-to-shore cranes and container handling equipment, according to the report. With financial support from Beijing, state-controlled Shanghai Zhenhua Heavy Industry Company dominates the global maritime equipment and technology market, the report said. Retired Army Colonel John Mills previously told the Epoch Times that the cranes are believed to be an extension of the Chinese Communist Party's global cybercrime operation, which could be used to disrupt U.S. ports during an invasion of Taiwan. "Those container cranes are not cranes," Colonel Mills said. "They're IP endpoints on a worldwide intelligence collection system." The report also noted that Chinese state-owned enterprises, including ZPMC, have made concerted efforts to increase their influence through underpricing equipment and technology, making it more attractive than their competitors. ZPMC Equipment Company accounts for nearly 80% of the ship-to-shore cranes used by U.S. ports. Cargo cranes are necessary for the U.S. maritime sector to conduct international trade and military logistical operations during a military conflict. The report found concerns with ZPMC, which has publicly denied being a cybersecurity threat to the United States. One problem noted in the document was that ZPMC or its contractors installed cellular modems onto cranes that are currently operational at certain U.S. ports. No contract to install these modems exists. ZPMC has repeatedly requested remote access to its cranes operating at U.S. ports, with a particular focus on those located on the West Coast, the report said. That could give China's military access to the cranes. Another issue is that ZPMC's contract requires that all non-ZPMC crane components be shipped to Chongqing Base in China by third-party companies, such as Sweden, Germany, and Japan. They're installed by ZPMC engineers without oversight from the original manufacturer, raising red flags, according to the report. The installation of components takes place at or near the Jiangnan shipyard, where the People's Liberation Army Navy builds its most advanced warships and houses its intelligence agencies, it noted. Another potential problem was that contracts between ZPMC and U.S. ports do not contain provisions prohibiting or limiting unauthorized modifications or access to equipment and technology bound for U.S. ports. The report recommended quick action on removing or disassembling any connection to cellular modems on Chinese-made cranes. It called for the Department of Homeland Security to issue guidance to all U.S. ports using ZPMC cranes to install operational technology monitoring software. The report also stated that the United States should help provide cybersecurity and port security to Guam, a strategic U.S. ally in the Pacific. Midterm goals outlined in the report include congressional action to allocate grant money to ports to offset the cost of buying more expensive cranes made by non-adversarial nations. The United States does not manufacture its own maritime cranes and container equipment, leaving it vulnerable. Manufacturing cranes in America should be a long-term goal, the report stated. Potential military threats to U.S. seaports stemming from China came to light in February 2021. The report, citing media accounts, noted that the FBI discovered intelligence gathering equipment on Chinese cargo cranes that arrived at the port of Baltimore. That same year, the Defense Intelligence Agency reportedly conducted a classified assessment, finding that Beijing could potentially throttle port traffic or gather intelligence on military equipment being shipped. In February 2023, the FBI's Office of the Private Sector issued an advisory highlighting indicators of malicious Chinese activity in the U.S. maritime sector, including unusual visits and unusually low bids or quotes to supply port equipment and services. In January, FBI Director Christopher Wray said during a congressional hearing that Chinese Volt Typhoon malware embedded in critical infrastructure throughout the United States had been removed. Wray said the malware was designed to disrupt and destroy U.S. infrastructure, which would likely be coordinated should a conflict break out between the two nations. In February, President Joe Biden issued an executive order allowing DHS to address maritime cyber threats and establish cybersecurity standards to secure the networks and systems of U.S. ports. Aaron Pan contributed to this report.
Ohio sending troopers, funding to Springfield over Haitian illegal immigrant influx. Ohio's governor says he is sending law enforcement officials and millions of dollars in healthcare resources to Springfield, a city at the center of a national spotlight on Haitian illegal immigrants. Governor Mike DeWine, a Republican, said he doesn't oppose the temporary protected status program under which some 15,000 Haitians have arrived in the city of about 59,000 people since 2020. However, he said, the federal government must do more to help impacted communities. In a news conference on September 10th, DeWine said that dramatic surges in illegal immigrants impact every citizen of the community, adding that Lima and Findlay also have had influxes. The federal government simply has to be part of the solution, the governor said. They have to step up. It's their policies that have created these surges. He said the influx affects moms who have to wait hours in a waiting room with a sick child, everyone who drives on the streets, and it affects children who go to school in more crowded classrooms. On September 11th, the Ohio State Highway Patrol is being dispatched to help local police with traffic issues in Springfield. City officials and social media posts have indicated that Haitian drivers are frequently involved in accidents and crashes, the governor said. The goal, of course, is to reduce dangerous driving regardless of who the driver is, he said. DeWine said he is also earmarking $2.5 million over 2 years for more primary health care through the county health department and private health care institutions. Controversy over migrants in Springfield erupted earlier this month after some social media users said that Haitian immigrants were eating people's pets as well as ducks from a park. People who spoke at town hall events, videos of which were uploaded online, also said that the immigrants frequently crash their vehicles, camp, and squat on locals' property, cannot speak English, and haven't tried to assimilate into the broader American culture. The allegations were enhanced by Senator J.D. Vance, the Republican vice presidential nominee, who said on social media that people have had their pets abducted and eaten by people who shouldn't be in this country. He added that immigrants are allegedly causing chaos all over Springfield. In a new post on September 10th, Vance wrote that his office received inquiries about the claims and that it's possible that all of these rumors turn out to be false. In a statement on September 10th, Springfield Strategic Engagement Manager Karen Graves told the Epoch Times that there have been no credible reports or specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community. Multiple requests to the Springfield Police Division for comment have not been returned. Halt and deportations. Earlier this year, the Department of Homeland Security announced temporary protected status for Haitians who arrived in the United States before June 3rd, which includes those who entered illegally from being deported back to Haiti. DeWine's family operates a charity in Haiti, which has built a network of schools. Earlier this year, a school founded by the charity was forced to close as armed gangs took over swaths of Haiti in the latest round of unrest to hit the impoverished country, the Ohio governor told reporters. Long considered the poorest nation in the Western Hemisphere, Haiti has been beset by gang warfare since the country's president, Jovenel Moïse, was assassinated in July 2021. The U.S. Embassy currently lists the country as Level 4, do not travel, due to crime, kidnappings, general unrest, and poor healthcare infrastructure. U.S. citizens in Haiti should depart Haiti as soon as possible by commercial or other privately available transportation options, in light of the current security situation and infrastructure challenges, the embassy said in a bulletin last year, which hasn't been updated. The Associated Press contributed to this report. Putin tells NATO allowing long-range missiles would equal direct involvement in war. Russian President Vladimir Putin told reporters on September 12 that if NATO allows Ukraine to strike inside Russia with Western-supplied long-range missiles, it would be tantamount to becoming directly involved in the war and would change the nature of the conflict. If this decision is taken, it will mean nothing less than the direct involvement of NATO countries, the United States and European countries in the war in Ukraine, Putin told Russian state television. This will be their direct participation, and this, of course, will significantly change the very essence, the very nature of the conflict. The Russian leader made the comments during an interview with Russian state television. Putin said Ukraine, lacking the military intelligence capability, would rely on U.S. and European allies for satellite targeting data and programming of the missiles' flight paths. So this is not a question of allowing the Ukrainian regime to strike Russia with these weapons or not, Putin said. It is a question of deciding whether or not NATO countries are directly involved in a military conflict. Putin added that Russia will make appropriate decisions in response to the threats that will be posed to us. His comments came after the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and British Foreign Minister David Lammy met with President Volodymyr Zelensky in Ukraine to discuss ongoing military support for Kyiv. Kyiv has been requesting long-range weaponry, including the U.S. Army Tactical Missile System and British Storm Shadow missiles, to be used in Russian territory, with Zelensky warning Western leaders that delaying such a decision allows Russia to relocate its army deeper into its territory. So, if our partners lift restrictions, it would be highly desirable for this to be part of Ukraine's victory strategy, rather than just a political strategy. Lifting restrictions should mean truly lifting them, Zelensky said in a September 12 statement, following his meeting with U.S. and British officials. Blinken said in a press conference after the meeting with Zelensky that Ukraine's military needs and capabilities were among the topics discussed. The principal topic we discussed was military capability and their reinforcement, air defense, F-16s, munition, drones, armored vehicles, and other equipment. Everything that can work for victory, he said. Blinken said the United States will adapt the support provided to Ukraine as needed. Just speaking for the United States, from day one, as you heard me say, we have adjusted and adapted as needs have changed, as the battlefield has changed, and I have no doubt that we'll continue to do that as this evolves, Blinken said. The bottom line is this: we want Ukraine to win, and we're fully committed to keep marshaling the support that it needs for its brave defenders and citizens to do just that. During the press conference in Ukraine, Lamy pointed to what he called a recent, significant, and dangerous escalation in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, referring to Iranian drones, missiles, and munitions being transported to Russia. The escalator here is Putin, Lamy said. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer echoed those comments on September 12 while en route to Washington, where he is set to meet President Joe Biden to discuss Ukraine's possible use of British-made Storm Shadow cruise missiles on Russian soil. Russia started this conflict, Starmer told reporters on board his flight. Russia illegally invaded Ukraine. Russia can end this conflict straight away. Blinken said on September 10 that Moscow will likely use the FATH-360 close-range ballistic missiles in Ukraine soon. Dozens of Russian military personnel have been trained in Iran to use the FATH-360 close-range ballistic missile system, which has a maximum range of 75 miles. Russia has now received shipments of these ballistic missiles and will likely use them within weeks in Ukraine against Ukrainians, Blinken said in London. Iran's foreign ministry denies providing ballistic missiles to Russia, the semi-official ISNA news agency reported. Ministry spokesman Nasser Kanani said publishing wrong and misleading reports about transferring Iranian weapons to some countries is merely an ugly propaganda and lie. Speaking to reporters on September 9, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov described Tehran as an important partner for Moscow. Iran is our important partner. We are developing our trade and economic relations. We are developing our cooperation and dialogue in all possible areas, including the most sensitive ones, Peskov said. Caden Pearson, the Associated Press, and Reuters contributed to this report.
Social Security increase for 2025 projected to be 2.5%, lowest rise since 2021. Social Security beneficiaries may see a modest increase in their benefits next year, with the Senior Citizens League forecasting on September 11th that the cost of living adjustment for 2025 will be 2.5%, the lowest level since 2021. It noted that a 2.5% increase would raise the average Social Security monthly benefit of $1,920 by approximately $48 per month. Though the COLA has been higher in recent years due to record inflation, notably 8.7% in 2023 and 5.9% in 2022. TSCL's forecast suggests a return to more typical levels of benefit adjustments. The Social Security Administration is set to announce the official COLA for 2025 in mid-October. TSCL's 2024 retirement survey found that 65% of respondents reported monthly expenses of at least $2,000. A significant rise from 55% in 2023. The survey, which included more than 2,100 participants, also revealed that nearly 80% of senior households experienced increases in essential expenses such as food, housing, and prescription drugs over the past year. Ensuring that seniors have enough to feed and house themselves with dignity is a major reason why we advocate for a minimum COLA of 3. Shannon Benton, TSCL's executive director, said in a statement on September 11th, TSCL research shows that approximately two-thirds of seniors rely on Social Security for more than half of their monthly income, and 28 depend on it entirely. The latest COLA estimate from TSCL reflects the most recent consumer price data, released on September 11th, which showed inflation slowing in August to an annual pace of 2.5%, a decline from 2.9% the prior month. Core inflation, which removes the volatile energy and food categories, held steady at 3.2% in annual terms. However, the core consumer price index jumped at a higher-than-expected pace of 0.3%, up from 0.2% in the previous month, suggesting elevated underlying inflationary pressures. Greg McBride, chief financial analyst at Bankrate, said that inflation continues to affect Americans and that the rise in the monthly core CPI was disappointing. Households know all too well the difference between moderating inflation and high prices. A lower rate of inflation just means prices aren't going up as fast as they had, not that prices are coming down in any broad way, he said in an emailed statement to the Epoch Times. Even a more customary pace of inflation doesn't erase the rapid run-up in prices that has stretched household budgets, a strain millions of Americans are still feeling. Even though food inflation was little changed in August, many items within the category showed month-over-month gains, such as eggs, chicken, beef and veal, fresh fruits, and milk. Andrew Moran contributed to this report.
I don't think people understand just how thrilling long-range shooting can be. Let's unlock the secrets together. Mastering long-range shooting isn't just about pulling the trigger. It's about understanding the math, the science, and the mindset behind every shot. From bullet drop to wind drift and the intricacies of ballistics, each factor plays a crucial role. Sean Armstrong, a former U.S. Army sniper, shares decades of experience in his book, making complex concepts easy to grasp. You'll learn about muzzle velocity, bullet trajectory, and choosing the right optics. But knowledge alone isn't enough. Mastering fundamentals like breathing techniques, trigger control, and body positioning are key. Combine this understanding with dedicated practice, and you'll see your accuracy soar. So grab your gear, head to the range, and start unlocking your potential. Long-range shooting isn't just a skill, it's an adventure. Ready to take the shot?
Texas City shuts down hotel occupied by Venezuelan gang after 693 police calls. Texas authorities say they are shutting down a crime-ridden hotel housing Tren de Aragua gang members and investigating the gang's criminal involvement in other cities. El Paso County Attorney Cristina Sanchez filed a lawsuit on August 27 to close the Gateway Hotel on Stanton St. in downtown El Paso, Texas, for multiple code violations, noting 693 police and service calls to the location over the past 2 years. The lawsuit names as defendants the Gateway Hotel, Gigante Enterprises LLC, which owns the business, and hotel owner Howard Yoon. Tren de Aragua gang members have occupied the Gateway Hotel since at least June, according to court documents obtained by the Epoch Times. Elhue Dominguez, Special Projects Coordinator with El Paso County, told the Epoch Times that a judge granted an order to close the hotel by September 12. The temporary injunction signed by District Judge Maria Salas Mendoza will shut down the hotel pending a December 9 hearing on a permanent injunction. Residents will have until 10 a.m. on September 12 to vacate the hotel. Tren de Aragua, a Venezuelan gang with an estimated 5,000 members, is feared in Latin America and has been connected to murder, drugs, and human trafficking. Their members are believed to be taking advantage of the border crisis chaos, illegally slipping across the U.S. southern border. Watch out for this gang. It is the most powerful in Venezuela, known for murder, drug trafficking, sex crimes, extortion, and other violent acts, Border Patrol Chief Jason Owens wrote on X, formerly known as Twitter, in April as a warning about the gang. President Joe Biden designated Tren de Aragua as a transnational criminal organization in July at the urging of Representative Maria Elvira Salazar and Senator Marco Rubio. Over the last year, the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua has managed to move their operations north by taking advantage of our porous southern border, Salazar said. My constituents in Miami, many of them Venezuelans themselves, should not have to endure living amongst the same kinds of criminals that force them to leave their home country. In El Paso, deplorable conditions exist inside the once condemned hotel, which has been the location of at least 10 aggravated assaults, 13 instances of assaultive conduct/fights, 11 drug delivery or possession charges, 20 disorderly conduct incidents, and at least 1 indecency with a child call, according to court documents. Security videos at the Gateway Hotel show an aggravated assault and men holding knives and another man with a hatchet assaulting people and causing damage to the hotel in front of a security guard, court documents state. In an affidavit included in the court documents, El Paso police officer Samuel Medina said he suspects prostitution is taking place at the hotel and said the continuous incidents of criminal activity have increased with the introduction of the Tren de Aragua organization into the hotel. During a hotel check in July, a police officer noted that there were people behind the front desk without hotel insignia or uniform looking at paperwork, and an officer identified Tren de Aragua members at the hotel, according to court documents. In August, police were called to the hotel with reports of loud noise and drinking. They reported that one person living on the 3rd floor had a tattoo associated with the Venezuelan gang. The hotel received a conditional certificate of occupancy for the 1st floor in 2018, but the court documents state that a new certificate was never issued. The Epoch Times was unable to reach Yun for comment. El Paso isn't the only Texas city dealing with the Venezuelan gang. Dallas police spokeswoman Jennifer Pryor told the Epoch Times in a September 10th email that gang activity in North Dallas has been linked to Tren de Aragua. Our department is collaborating with other agencies to address possible crimes linked to this and other gangs in our city. We are dedicated to preventing criminal activity in our community and ensuring the safety of our residents, she wrote. Gang's presence in Colorado drew national attention. The Venezuelan gang captured the attention of the nation in a viral video showing gun-toting gangsters seemingly operating with impunity at an apartment complex in Aurora, Colorado. Law firm Perkins Coie, which represents the lender for Whispering Pines, a 54-unit apartment complex at 1357 Helena Street in Aurora, investigated the situation. Perkins Coie's 10-page letter to city officials documented how Tren de Aragua took over the Whispering Pines apartments with threats of murder, beatings, and intimidation. Evidence indicates that the Venezuelan gang members in Aurora also engaged in human trafficking, according to Perkins Coie attorney T. Marcus Funk. Extortion, unlawful firearms possession, and sexual abuse of minors allegedly occurred at the apartment complex, targeting vulnerable Venezuelan and other immigrant populations, the letter states. In one case, according to Funk, a consultant for the apartment complex's management company was so severely beaten that he had to go to the hospital. The incident was captured on videotape. The city of Aurora has cited isolated situations in a statement. The Aurora Police Department didn't respond to the Epoch Times request for a tour of the affected buildings. In a statement on Facebook on September 11th, Aurora Mayor Mike Kaufman and Public Safety Chair Danielle Jurinsky detailed the city's efforts to combat the presence of the Venezuelan gang in their city. Well before the issue came to national attention, they said, the Aurora police had been arresting people for various criminal activities who had suspected, but not necessarily confirmed, connections to the gang. Tren de Aragua's presence in Aurora is limited to specific properties, all of which the city has been addressing in various ways for months, according to the statement. Epoch Times reporter Alan Stein contributed to this report.
Top Ohio officials respond to claims of Springfield pets being eaten. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine dismissed claims that some Haitian or other immigrants have eaten pets in Springfield, the Ohio city at the center of a nationwide immigration controversy, while the state's attorney general has said there is at least one credible claim of illegal immigrants capturing geese. In an interview with CBS News, DeWine was asked whether anyone in Ohio was eating dogs or cats illegally. DeWine responded, "This is something that came up on the internet, and the internet can be quite crazy sometimes. Look, the mayor of Springfield says there's no truth in that. They have no evidence of that at all," added DeWine, whose family operates a charity in Haiti that has built a network of schools in the impoverished country. So if we go with what the mayor says, he knows his city. Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost on Wednesday said that there are credible claims of immigrants capturing geese for food. In a social media post, Yost said there is a recorded police call from a witness who saw immigrants capturing geese for food in Springfield. Citizens testified to city council. He said that those people would be competent witnesses in court. Over the past week, Senator J.D. Vance, the Republican vice presidential nominee, has said multiple times on social media that there have been reports of Haitian or other illegal immigrants eating pets as well as ducks. During Tuesday night's presidential debate, former President Donald Trump referred to those reports while speaking about illegal immigration in the United States. A Trump campaign website page, citing the Federalist, said that a police call in August included a local resident reporting that Haitian people were carrying 4 geese in Springfield. I'm sitting here, I'm riding on the trail, I'm going to my orientation for my job today, and I see a group of Haitian people, there was about 4 of them, they all had geese in their hand. The caller tells a dispatcher in the audio recording of the phone call. The Epoch Times could not verify the authenticity of the call and contacted the Springfield Police Division for comment on Thursday but didn't receive a reply by publication time. Springfield Strategic Engagement Manager Karen Graves told the Epoch Times earlier this week, "There have been no credible reports or specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community." Meanwhile, Springfield Mayor Rob Rue on Monday said claims of geese or ducks from parks being killed and eaten are unsubstantiated. Speaking to the Springfield News-Sun, Rue said he has had no conversations with Yost about the issue, adding that his city appreciates any help it can get to assist the immigrant population and the larger community. "Our concern is the surge that we've experienced over the last 3 to 4 years, and we're trying to do the best we can with the infrastructure we have to serve the influx of folks that have come into our community, to serve the community including the influx," Rue said. In a statement on Tuesday, a Springfield police spokesperson said, "In response to recent rumors alleging criminal activity by the immigrant population in our city, we wish to clarify that there have been no credible reports or specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community." Earlier this year, the Department of Homeland Security announced the extension of temporary protected status for Haitians until February 3, 2026, including those who entered illegally, protecting them from being deported back to Haiti. The U.S. State Department has long warned that U.S. citizens should exercise caution when traveling to Haiti. In 2023, the agency urged any U.S. citizens to leave the country in the midst of widespread violence and unrest after the assassination of its president, Jovenel Moïse, 2 years earlier. The country is currently listed as Level 4, do not travel due to crime, kidnappings, poor healthcare infrastructure, and unrest. Reuters contributed to this report.